1921, 1929. There were mass massacres here in Hebron, to the Jewish community, in Jerusalem, in Yafo, in Tveria, in Tzfat. And so what? Was it the occupation? There was no occupation, there was no state. It's against the Jews. And always, when you hear them, when they run in order to kill us, they always shout, Ilbah al-Yahud, means slaughter the Jews. It's not the Israelis or the Zionists, it is the Jews.
Hello everyone and welcome to the podcast where I interview army commanders, professors and politicians regarding the Israeli and Arab conflict. My name is Asaf, nice to meet you all, and today I'm very excited to interview a Middle Eastern affairs expert or Islam expert, Dr. Mordechai Kedar. He's a famous figure in Israel as well. He was born in 1952 to parents of Polish origins whose entire family was murdered in the Holocaust. He reached to the rank of lieutenant colonel in the Israeli intelligence. In 1997, he completed his PhD in the Arabic department. In this interview, we're going to cover basically the question of the 7th of October. Why did Hamas launch this attack?
Hey everyone. This episode with Dr. Mordechai Kedar was very insightful and interesting, so we decided not to cut anything out. Instead, we broke it into 5 shorter episodes to make it easier for you to watch and listen. You can find all of those videos in our channel, Conflict Voices. Please don't forget to subscribe.
So that's the reason that I invited Dr. Kedar. Hello, nice to meet you. Thank you very much for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here and to launch this podcast. Wish you good luck.
Thank you very much.
And look, October 7th, the motivation of Hamas to launch this vicious, barbaric attack on Israel was meant to bring Israelis to a nervous breakdown, no less. They planned to establish a defense line in the Negev, inside Israel. They didn't think that Israel will kick them out within 2 days from Israel and launch a major attack, including aerial attack, including on the ground, tanks and boots on the ground. Mm-hmm. They didn't expect it. They thought that the fact that they will capture or kidnap so many Israelis, hundreds of Israelis, will actually deter Israel from any real action against Hamas. That they will have the lead and the control over the Israelis by holding these people who are kidnapped, including children and women and girls, thinking that Israel, because these people are in danger, Israel will not dare to launch a counterattack, especially not in such a magnitude as it is. They planned to occupy part of Israel and maybe even to cut Israel in the middle by creating a corridor between Gaza and Judea area, means the Hebron mountain, basing on the Bedouins who live in that area. Mm-hmm. And don't forget that many Bedouin families have relatives in Gaza, in Sinai as well. So, based on these assumptions, apparently they planned to occupy a large part of Israel, establish a defense line, using human shields, Israelis, in order to defend this line, in order to negotiate with Israel all kinds of things like releasing of their murderers from the Israeli prisons, maybe taking Jerusalem as well as the capital of their whatever state, or Israel will withdraw from East Jerusalem. This was one of their declared objectives. But we have to understand. It doesn't mean all that doesn't mean that they have to rape girls and to shoot them dead after they rape them. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that they should behead children as they did, or burn them in ovens in some case. This barbaric vicious behavior comes from different area in the culture. And for this, Westerners find it very hard to understand the Middle East. And this is, I would say, welcome to the Middle East. Here in the Middle East, the name of the game, the social game, is comprised of two major components. One is the tribal behavior, which is the heritage of many thousands of years since human beings came to live in this area, in this desert. Actually, 98% of the Middle East is very dry, arid desert. Look at the Sahara, the Saudi Arabian desert, Jordanian, Syrian, Iraqi. All these countries are mostly desert. In the desert, if you want to survive, you have to stick to your source of water. And if you exhausted your source of water, you go to another tribe and you fight against them in order to kick them out, in order to take their water. Otherwise, you're going to die. Means you cannot relate to others with pity and mercy. Because if you pity them, you will die. You have to kill them. You have to chase them out. And chasing them out from the water means that they're going to die. Inevitably, because you take their source of water, because otherwise you will die. It's either us or them. And when the culture for many thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of years, it's either us or them, it's either we are alive or they are alive, because the alternative is we are dead. You cannot deal with the other with emotions. Because if you involve in emotions in this equation, you cannot do anything and you're going to die. And this is how the desert environment of the Middle East actually shapes the culture. You have to be cruel. You have to be vicious. You have to be barbaric. Especially if you're a small tribe, you have to be very barbaric in order to deter the big tribes who are more powerful than you are, in order to tell them, hey guys, you better keep away. Otherwise, we're going to slaughter you. We're going to cut your ears. We're going to cut your nose, cut your feet and your hands. Why? Because we are dangerous. And be very careful and get away and go to another place, or the hell with you. Because we have to survive near our source of water. The fight over water in the Middle East turned everybody to the idea that in the desert, you cannot be the second to shoot. You have to be the first. Means you have to be violent. Because in any encounter between a violent side and the non-violent side, the violent side will inevitably win. Yes. So you cannot allow yourself to be non-violent. This is why, this part of the explanation, why in Syria today, hundreds of thousands of people were killed since 2011 when the Arab Spring started. Look at Iraq, how they blow up each other in the marketplace and everything, everywhere. Look at Sudan, Darfur, look at Yemen, look at Libya. All these places, the violence cost the lives of hundreds of thousands of people during the last 10, 15 years. And not only this, you can trace the history and you can see these feuds and fights between tribes were almost constant. And this is, unfortunately, what the culture of the Middle East, the tribalism with the violence as the essence. Of course, there are other aspects which are like support and, good aspects. But for us here to explain what happened on October 7th, you have to understand the mindset and the culture and the heritage of the Middle East, which is based on violence. Unfortunately, but this is what this is. Secondly, you have to look at another part of the source of culture in the Middle East, which is Islam. And Islam is for 14 centuries already, which is rather young compared to the tribalism.
Yes.
And Islam actually is a religion which was meant from the beginning, to unite the Arab tribes who were fighting each other until Islam came to the world. Islam came in order to give them one common denominator, the religion. They believe in Allah because formally they believe everyone has an idol. Every tribe had an idol, and they worship different deities. Now Islam came in order to unite them, to combine them together to an ummah. Ummah in Arabic means a nation, but in Arabic it means a nation by only by the religion. It means all the Muslims are one ummah. They could be Arabs, they could be different tribes, they could be Turks, they could be Kurds, they could be Baluchis, they could be Pashtuns, all kinds of ethnic groups. But since they are all Muslims, they are one ummah. And this is the Islamic nation, which is defined only by religion. Now the religion came, the Islam came, united them in order to divert their violence to others, to the kuffar, to the infidels. And Islam, in order to motivate the people, actually gave the believers, gave the Muslims, the lands of the kuffar, of the infidels, the assets of the property of the infidels, their lives, means you can do with them whatever they like, and their daughters. And you know exactly what it means to give them the daughters, to do with them whatever they like. Yes. And this is actually the reward of the Muslims, which Allah gives them, for the fact that they became Muslims, and now they are going out in the jihad, in the holy war for Islam, and their reward is everything which they can take from the infidels. And this is actually one of the parts of the motivation of Muslims to go out and to be violent, because Allah gave them the lands and the properties and the girls of the infidels. By the way, we hear these things in interrogations of rapists in Europe. Recently, when there is a big migration of Muslims to Europe, and unfortunately there are many cases of rape.
I saw it,
And those rapists, when they are interrogated in prison, why did he do this? This comes out that we Muslims, we are allowed to take the girls of the others because they are not Muslims. It comes out all kinds of ways, but this is what the belief which they believe. And it's also based on Islamic sources. But this is, so the other means we Jews here in Israel are a problem from both sides. We are a different tribe, to say, because we are a different nation, different culture, different everything. So the tribal background is against us, and we are Jews. We are not Muslims. So now the Islamic violence could be directed against us. Why? Because we are Jews. So when you combine together the tribal side and the religious side, and Hamas are definitely the movement of Islamic resistance, Islamic, not even national, Islamic. So it is a combination of the tribal views and culture with the Islamic heritage of how to behave with the others, especially Jews. And add to this the fact that they believe that we occupy their land, that they believe that we are not a nation, and Judaism is null and void, and we are sticking to a religion which is null and void. All these things are also additives, or being added to the sentiment against Jews, and this is what the combination of these motivations actually operated in October 7th. And you know what? It's not the first massacre against Jews. And we suffered from massacres in 1920, 28 years before the state was established, 1921, 1929. There were mass massacres here in Hebron, today Jewish community, in Jerusalem, in Yafo, in Tveria, in Tzfat. And so what? Was it the occupation? There was no occupation, there was no state. It's against the Jews. And always, when you hear them, when they run in order to kill us, they always shout, Ilbah al-Yahud, means slaughter the Jews. It's not the Israelis or the Zionists, it is the Jews.
We hope you enjoyed this episode with Dr. Kedar. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel Conflict Voices and see the rest of the videos with Dr. Kedar.